Hey guys, you're welcome to another tutorial on this channel. Thank you for stopping by. In this video, I'll be showing us the sewing process of this beautiful dress. This tutorial is easy to follow and beginner friendly. So if you love sewing tutorials like this, why not keep watching and let's get into the video. In my previous video, we went about the pattern drafting of this dress. If you haven't seen the video yet, the link will be in the comments as well as the description box. Go ahead and see it so you have a proper understanding of how we got here. After drafting and cutting out each pattern, the next thing to do is to transfer to the fabric. Here is the back pattern and it is on fold. I added half-inch stitching allowance at the neckline, the shoulder, but none at the armhole because I added that while drafting. 1 inch at the side as well as the hem and none at the zipper allowance side. For the front piece, my fabric is also folded into two and I placed my pattern on the folded edge. I added half-inch stitching allowance around the neckline, the shoulder, none at the armhole, 1 inch at the side as well as the hem. For the sleeve, I folded my fabric into 4 so as to have the 2 sleeves after cutting. Then I placed my pattern on the folded edge. I only added stitching allowance to the top, none at the hem as well as the side because I did that while drafting. Having transferred the pattern to the fabric, the next thing to do is to start stitching. Here is the front panel and the first thing I'll do here is to transfer each dart to my fabric and I'll be using a tracing wheel to do that. If you don't have a tracing wheel, you can pin your darts to your fabric, just pin it round, then use your chalk to trace out the shape or use whatever method you know to do this, okay? Now, if you are using a tracing wheel, make sure to apply pressure as you trace the dart so that each line will be visible on your fabric. Next, I will mark out each dart lines with my chalk. Now, I will unpin my pattern paper and duplicate the darts to the other side of my fabric. The lines of the second waist dart is not that visible, so I will just do this instead. I will go over to the sewing machine now to stitch the darts, following the direction of the chalk, and after stitching the darts, I will use facing to turn the neckline. This is the piece for the facing and it is on fold. I will set the front piece on it this way, trace out the shoulder, the neckline as well as the armhole. To stitch, I'll place the facing on the right side of the main fabric, then stitch round the neckline this way. For the back piece, I already traced the darts off camera just like I did the front, and I'm just going to make the lines visible with my chalk. Next, I will cut out facing for the neckline. The piece for the back facing is also on fold, so I set one of the back piece on it, trace out the shoulder as well as the neckline, then cut out the shape I want it to have. To stitch, I'll place the facing on the right side of each piece, then go over to the sewing machine to stitch around the neckline with half-inch measurements, and I will also stitch the darts. Here's the front piece. After using the facing to turn the neckline, I also stitched the bust dart as well as the waist dart, and here is what I have. And here I have room for my bust. You should have something like this after stitching your dart. This is what it looks like at the wrong side. I used hemming gum to hold down the hem of the facing and also gave the dart a good press. I also used the facing to turn the back neckline, but I stopped stitching when I got to the 1-inch zipper allowance. This is because I want to use the facing to cover up the zipper at that part. So after fixing the zipper, I will stitch it completely. This is what my dart looks like after stitching, and this is what it looks like at the wrong side. The next thing to do now is to fix the zipper. So I place each piece back on each other. Then from the neckline, I will determine where I want my zipper to stop, and I will also mark how high I want my slit to be. From the hem, I will come up by 7 inches, 1 inch for hem allowance and the remaining 6 inches for slit allowance. If you want your slit higher than that, go ahead and mark how high you want it. Now I will come back to this point where the zipper stops and mark 3/4 of an inch instead of the 1-inch zipper allowance, and at this point where the slit starts, I will mark 1.5 inches instead of 1 inch, then connect the points. I will explain why I use this measurement instead of the 1-inch zipper allowance later. At the waist, I will mark the 1-inch zipper allowance, then connect the points this way, and also extend the line to the top. So this is how I will fix my zipper, and this is where it stops. Then I will stitch the remaining zipper allowance following the direction of my chalk. Now the reason why I use that 3/4 of an inch and that 1.5 inches instead of the 1-inch zipper allowance is to help contour the butt. If you stitch your remaining zipper allowance this way and not just straight, it gives the back of your dress this beautiful fitting, and you can decide to stitch it this way as well. I will go over to the sewing machine now to stitch and also fix my zipper. And this is what I have after fixing my zipper. The bump side will look like there's excess fabric there. For the slits, I later increased the height to 8.5 inches instead of the 7 inches I marked earlier. For the facing, I already finished up one part as you can see, and I will show us how I did it with the second one. Now align the zipper and the facing together this way. Then you stitch it together like so. You also stitch the length of the facing to the zipper this way. And after stitching it together, you turn it right out and you have something like this. Here I have stitched it together, and the next thing to do is to cut off the excess fabric before turning it right out. And this is what you will have afterwards. I'm going to use hemming gum to hold down this facing later. The next thing to do is to join the shoulder of the back and the front piece together. So I'll place the front piece on the back piece this way. Then I will flip the front facing to the back and use it to wrap the shoulder. Now I will go over to the sewing machine to stitch with 1/2 inch measurement and stitch the second shoulder the same way. After joining the shoulder, the next thing to do is to close the side. I'm going to close the side with the sewing allowance I left for it while cutting. Now if you stitch your back the same way I did mine, it won't be as wide as the front piece anymore. What you have to do is to align each side when joining. I will go over to the sewing machine now to stitch using the 1-inch stitching allowance. After closing the side, I gave it a good press and also used iron to fold in the 1-inch hem allowance. Now I will set this aside to work on the sleeve. The first thing I will do here is to turn in the hem. I will turn in the hem and use hemming gum to hold it down. You can also use a piece of your fabric or bias to turn this in and stitch it down. After ironing hemming gum to the hem of my sleeve, this is what I have, and this is what the wrong side looks like. The next thing to do is to close the side. Now the opening of this sleeve started right from the armhole, but I don't want mine that way, so I will close it a little. From the top, I will come down by 6 inches. You can use 4, 5, 3, 2 or 1 inch, and from that point I will go in by 3/4 of an inch and mark the same thing at the top. And when stitching, you are going to backstitch at whatever inch or inches you measured, then turn in the remaining edge of the sleeve this way and stitch. You can also use hemming gum to hold this down. This is my sleeve after stitching, and this is what my opening looks like. The next thing to do is to attach it to the armhole on my dress, and this is how I'm going to stitch it together. This is what my dress looks like now after attaching the two sleeves. The next thing to do is to insert the beads at the neckline. Here I have my threaded needle and the beads I'll make use of. Go ahead and measure the distance between the neckline, and that will be the length of your bead. What I measured at the neckline is not up to 5 inches, but I'll make the length of my beads 5 inches anyway. Here my needle has passed through the neckline, and I'm just going to insert the bead until I have the length I want. After getting my desired length, I will pass the needle through the second neckline, knot the thread and cut the excess. Now that I've finished up with the neckline, I'm going to start inserting the beads at the sleeve. The beads start from the edge, and I want it very close to the hem. But you might want yours at the tip of the sleeve. Go ahead and insert it that way. And for the distance between each bead, it is less than half of an inch. After inserting the beads on this first sleeve, I'll do the same with the second sleeve. For the beads at the neckline, I later increased the length to 6 inches because I didn't like the way it hung on my neck when I fitted it. And this is what the beads at the sleeves looks like. So the last thing to do here is to work on the hem, which I already did. I used hemming gum to hold down the hem allowance. And with that, we've come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, please hit on the like button, share and comment your thoughts below. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe, and I will see you in my next one.